it's a pleasure to rise in this debate, especially hearing all the contributions around the House. Can I firstly start by congratulating the Honourable Member from North East 5 for bringing this bill forward and her stewardship in getting it to this stage. As others have said, and it's similar to our debate on the previous bill, this is a really important piece of legislation affecting about 4.2 million people across the country. And I should probably declare an interest at this point that my parents are now getting to a stage in their lives where caring responsibilities will be a requirement. And Honourable Member from Devise mentioned family life, and I would totally endorse that view, but also build on that by saying actually the quality of care typically for family members is better and you have healthier outcomes when it's actually a loved one, someone they know and trust and understand the nuances of how that particular individual has led most of their lives. So I know that when I go and visit my parents, their eyes light up, not necessarily because I'm able to do any more than the professional carers, but the fact that actually it's a reassuring face and someone that they know that inherently they can trust to do best for them. We've had various debates since I've been elected in this place about the health and social care system. This is an integral part of that network and a complex landscape it is. But it's fair, and fairness is a main driver in my eyes for this government. It's fair that actually when people are doing the right thing by supporting their loved ones, the state, where appropriate, do give them the opportunity to do so in a way that means that while they will sacrifice their salary for those unpaid days, they are doing the right thing by stepping up for their loved ones. As a culture, we're very different to other parts of the world where typically our households today are not multi-generational where they once were. So when loved ones are getting involved more actively in supporting their elder parents or their young children who may need additional support, or even siblings, we as a government and as a nation should do all we can to provide that. The Carers UK reports that on average 600 people a day leave work to care. The report done by that organisation back in 2019 found that around 2 million adults had reduced their working hours in order to cope with their need to care. I think the point I would echo on that is that actually where they are making that sacrifice early, and it's the stitch in nine principle, getting involved in that caring responsibility before it becomes too difficult does have a better outcome for that particular person as well as their loved ones in terms of the stress related to looking after their loved ones. Of course.
Will you give way? Madam Deputy Speaker, I thank my honourable friend from South West Hertfordshire for his excellent speech. He has an absolute gift for bringing human experience to life, and it's always great listening to him. The question I've got for him, actually, and with the Minister in his place, is do you think there may be a risk here that when people are applying for jobs, that they may be precluded from getting that job or somehow discriminated against because they may say that they are carers? So do we need perhaps to do a little bit more in respect of potential employees not having to declare that they are carers?
So, my Gagan honourable friend is absolutely right to highlight that potential issue. The way I would read it, though, is, and going back to what the Minister said in the previous debate, that actually reputation matters. And if you're an employer supporting your employees, that endears loyalty when you say, actually, I do have care responsibilities, but that would inevitably, from my experience, be that actually that employee is more loyal, more passionate, more eager to actually do a good job when they are at work. So if I was, if someone approached me today for a job and they had that as part of their requirements to be flexible working, I would actually regard that as an asset. And I think part of the challenge will be how do we educate employers to understand that actually having someone in their workforce with that skill set is a benefit. Because it's actually more important to be effective at work rather than just clock in and clock out, in my eyes. I did want to continue humanising this story because I was contacted by Susan Graham, one of my constituents, a couple of years ago, and her personal story was, I've been caring for my husband who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 10 years ago. I've had to leave work to care for him and try to find other ways to help with our financial needs for our family. The fact that she's had to reach out to me as a constituency MP on this, while there is great third-party organisations and the voluntary sector able to support, it does say to me that actually there's a strong evidence base to say that we need to do more on this. And I think my honourable friend's bill is part of the jigsaw that will be the long-term solution for this. I know the Minister who's in this place will understand that this will be an evolution of probably future legislation as we see the consequences of putting this piece of legislation through. But we do need to balance it with employers and actually combating the unintended consequences. A lot of work's been done in this particular policy area. It was back in 2017 where the Work and Pensions Committee found that people often choose between taking a sick day or using a day's annual leave, and actually it was their recommendation they concluded there was a strong case for 5 days statutory paid carers leave based on the existing statutory leave system. And this is where I think this place does excellent work. While we're all eager to do making a positive impact on people's lives, it does need to be evidence-based. It does need to get all sides of the debate involved, and typically, from my experience, select committees is a good way to do that, as are APPGs. Within South West Hertfordshire, the 2021 consensus gathered information, and they found 92,781 people in Hertfordshire provided care to their friends and family. And this number is just a portion of the national one, showing the huge scale of this. The organisation Carers in Hertfordshire support people who care for family or friends who have physical or learning disabilities, dementia, mental health problems, and much, much more. They have approximately 32,500 registered carers. So this particular area does affect a huge number of people. The excellent Open Door charity in my constituency hosts a memory cafe every Friday, which I have attended, and I've seen firsthand the excellent work that they're able to do by ensuring that those people that are suffering do have the support network, but also it does allow carers to get a bit of a reprieve from the 24/7 typical challenges that they're having to do. And can I obviously take this opportunity to thank each and every one of those organisations and all the carers throughout the country. Going back to the employers, we do need to legislate properly, but we do need to make sure that it's just not a one-sided debate. I referenced earlier my own experience as a small business owner, and actually we need to be conscious that actually while the unpaid aspect of this piece of legislation is important, the actual time off may have a material impact on some of the smaller businesses. So I think it's proportionate to have the pro rata 5 days per year, and as my gallant honourable friend from Bracknell said, it could be, or I think it was, he spoke about it could be 10 half days. And that's appropriate because sometimes it is a bit ad hoc about when you as the family carer needs to step up to actually go and help an appointment and what have you. Typically from an employer perspective though, when you are supporting your employees, you have a lower turnover of staff. From my experience, it does inevitably take a little bit of time for someone when they come onto the workforce to learn the actual nuances of that particular employer. While they will have the requisite skills and probably tradecraft, there will be unique aspects to any employer. So it should be regarded as a bonus that actually when you treat your employees right, they are actually better employees for you. And actually, in terms of reputation and legacy, it's the right thing to do. So in my eyes, this bill has tangible benefits to the employer as well as the employee. In conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, informal carers are forgotten about in parts of our legislation. There is currently no dedicated statutory leave entitlement for informal carers who have to rely on other forms of leave. Those that provide unpaid care for a friend or family member make up 1/10 of adults in the UK. I don't think anyone on either side of this House wants unpaid carers to feel forgotten about. The flexibility for carers that this bill allows, I hope, will demonstrate in a very small way our gratitude for the selfless work that they do. Thank you.
Yeah.